Assistance Asia at International SOS.
Now, they are a health and security service firm delivering customized health and security risk management solutions for over 9,000 organizations worldwide. They also help them to build inclusive workplaces that are supportive of the mental, the emotional, and the physical well-being of their employees. I like that. Just total care.
Very important work.
Yes, and today we're going to focus about the gender discrimination that still happens in workplaces. So welcome, Ms. Noriko.
Hi, thank you.
Yes, so the first question is, why may women be still, subjected to gender discrimination in workplaces? What are some examples of such discrimination against women?
Sure, I think there are different, reports that we see that women face the gender disparity in terms of the financial or maybe the opportunities. And bottom line, that it's because of the persistence and unconscious bias, and then also cultural conditioning. In terms of what we see, as an example, like International SOS supports international signees and travelers, but in terms of opportunities that we have seen that only 14% of the international signees are female. And also in terms of the business travelers, even though that could be the 50%, it's about 30 to 40%. That actually shows that there's a gender disparity in terms of the opportunity. Because when you think about it, when you want to career advancement, that those international assignments could be crucial to get the better positions or better pay. But I think how that is manifesting is that there's a persistent gender bias. And maybe selection process, maybe the lack of perception of the lack of qualification. Could be
I like
lack
that
of
perception of the lack of qualification.
Yes.
Could be the lack of the visibility of the person, and also then the lack of practical support within the organization to enable the female to take those opportunities as well. And in terms of the policies or the structure, that we have seen that only 18% of the travel risk policies, corporate ones, actually has the gender specific the considerations within the policy, so that it might not actually cater the need of the female as well.
Wow, what kind of needs are we talking about for this? For the travel sort of like specifics for women. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So one example is that we had a call into the assistance center from the female executive traveling to India for the first time, solo. And because of the reports that we see on the gender-based violence, she was very worried.
Of course.
So in case of that, she had international assistance to come to check whether it's a safe, what kind of mitigation measures they need to have, so that we could actually support with her what kind of the hotels they should be checking in, and also what kind of transportations that they do, or like if they're going out for dinner, maybe they don't take Uber or the shared services, but then they maybe go with a colleague, so that she can be safe as well.
Those are actually really good tips for anyone to take note, because we do have women in our lives, your spouse and things. It's just good to take note of that.
Definitely those information also can be a little bit more exaggerated.
Of course.
So I think it's really important then the traveler understands the risk properly as well, because for the example of her, she was just going for the meeting in the urban centers, and the risk wasn't as high as she thought. So I think putting that into the perspective is really important. So that she can actually be happy to take that opportunity as well.
That's true.
That's a
my gosh.
really good
I never
point.
really even thought about that, but
I can see how maybe it's not about the gender discrimination, but in some cases it's just that lack of awareness. That companies see that male versus female employees might approach things differently or be impacted differently by the same opportunity. And
definitely.
in this case with the female executive, she might not have taken on this opportunity, which would have been great for a career advancement, because she was concerned for her security. mind-blowing.
It is. We're only 5 minutes into our chat. Hey guys, we're live on Facebook as well, so do join us there. Facebook.com/1FM913. Send us any questions you may have, and we'll continue talking about some instances of gender discrimination in the workplaces that go under the radar. If you have any first-hand accounts or examples of these, please do share them. We've got the expert in the house, and maybe she can help you address some of these situations as well. We're talking with Ms Noriko Takasaki right here on the Brightside on 1FM. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bright Side.
Alrighty, chime on in. That's right. Share your stories, what you've experienced. I'm sure there's a lot of things that you want to clarify as well. And I might just win you an exclusive chocolate factory tour that's worth $100 to Mr. Bucket's Chocolate Factory. So once again, welcome, Ms. Noriko.
Why may instances of gender discrimination actually at the workplace go under the radar, go unnoticed?
So we talked about the perception earlier, but everyone's thinking it's normal because it's normal in the culture, normal in the daytime, or it has been happening in a company or the society for a long time. So that normalization is one thing. So for example, if your parents are sick or that you have a child, that natural thought is that mother is a caregiver.
Right.
So that actually leads to the different discriminations, right? So that there's a study showing that if you are married and then you have a child, that you have less starting salary compared to the male counterpart, of course, but then also with the female without child as well. So that kind of the perception actually impact opportunities as well. And then as well as the financial consequences in these circumstances.
Carry on,
And on a different point, that it could be the psychological as well. That in a way that if you raise your voice, you might face a repercussion.
Wow.
Definitely.
But the point that you just brought up, that's really interesting. It's not just about gender bias, but within for the females, you just said if you are married with a child, your pay might actually be less than your female colleague who is not married and has no kids. That is really
and probably
interesting.
not taken time off as well. Does that actually still kind of factor into the promotion of a woman who has gone away and had a child?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. And then we talked about some of the international assignments or the travel opportunities. That if you have a child, natural consideration is that you might not be able to travel. Then that you might be actually eliminated from the selection, or that the pickup of the candidate as well.
I just want to put it out there for my boss. If you want to send me for an overseas assignment, I have 3 boys. I'm okay with it. Just send me. I'll do it.
He'd be doing you a favor.
Tomorrow even. I'll jump on that plane. Yeah.
Because we were talking about this with the other HR executives, and then they were talking that, also in Asia, the considerations for the female to take the international assignment is, when you think about family support, family doesn't extend only to the husband or the kids, but it could be the extended families as well. So some of the organizations doesn't consider that aspect of the support.
Yeah, I guess, it's just a very, like you said, it's been normalized, it's the whole, maybe just very focused view on how it is. Gosh, and that's still happening till today.
Yeah, definitely. I think Singapore has a very good support structure for the female, working mothers.
Yeah, Eileen Daniel on Facebook is actually saying, my boss is a lady in the oil and gas industry. In fact, we have quite a few department heads that are female.
Wonderful. Yeah. Because that helps to change the mindset, because they are, walking in their shoes. They would know, right?
Yeah. Is it enough that women are actually in leadership positions, or is there more that needs to be done?
Yeah.
Well, I think we see in Singapore there are lots of women and, women that we aspire to in leadership positions, but then I don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have the, for example, junior positions. Some of the workplaces have the more than half of representation as a female.
Yeah.
But when you goes up the ladder at the senior executive level, it's often
True.
male.
There is balance.
I was just going to say. All right, we're just going to jump back live on air to continue our discussion.
Yes.
Give us a few seconds.
Don't You Want Me? The Human League. See, Ms Noriko, we want to point out that our playlist listens very closely to everything that goes on air. This is like, a female employee. Why don't you want me? Why? So it's listening in, chose that song for us. So we are speaking to Ms Noriko Takasaki, the Security Director Assistant Asia for International SOS, about workplace gender discrimination against women. And early on, we spoke about these instances of gender discrimination that go under the radar, which brings my next question. I'm very sure that, all these discrimination does compromise the efficiency or the productivity in a workplace. So what are the dangers of not addressing this workplace gender discrimination for the workforce, for the organization?
Sure. Maybe I'll address in a way of that organizations who doesn't address those would be missing out from the benefit of the diversity. In terms of the diverse pool of the employees, like for example, like International SOS, we do a lot of the information analysis. So having a diverse background helps us to avoid groupthink, and then it leads to the better analysis, better discussions, and also that goes into the better innovation as well. And of course, like as a global organization, we support different markets. So if you're manufacturing or like even servicing a different countries or the different culture, having those backgrounds really makes sense for the organization to have a workforce, so that you can actually relate to your market or your the customers as well, and then that then drives the profitability for the organization. So that's a definitely benefit to it. And for the workforce as well, that it has been seen like kind of being approved of the being able to be there in a diverse the workforce or workplace actually increases motivation, morale, and then it actually then leads to the employee retention as well. Like it's really important that you have that consideration for all the profiles, and then have the support structure that we have discussed. Then people are happy to be working with your organization, and then you can actually retain the better workforce, right?
Gosh, I am just appalled that, and amazed actually about the impact that if you have such discrimination in the workplace, how it can impact, the productivity, the innovation. And I can see how easy it is for companies to just fall into that comfort zone, that group thinking that you speak of. So hopefully with you coming on air today, we're creating more awareness that we need to really change that.
Actually, Noriko, do we have any statistics on the percentages of women still reporting gender discrimination at the workplace, especially here in Singapore or Asia, perhaps?
I think Singapore, from this study, has a really good track record of the perceived discrimination. I mean, compared to my own country in Japan, that we do still face the different discriminations. We talked about opportunities that that in Singapore we might not be asked, but then when I was going for the job interview as a mother, that actually I was asked that I have a child. Is it possible that you can travel, or that is it possible that you take long hours as well? And then that kind of the questions actually signifies the discrimination, right? Because then I don't think my interviewer will be asking the same question to a male candidate who has a child.
Yeah, already the biasness is present because they're already thinking it. That's why they ask the question. Wow.
Right. So how can organizations then build a culture of equality and safety for their female personnel in the workplace?
Good question. So first, I think it's really important that we acknowledge the bias.
Okay.
We need to understand what kind of the bias or what kind of the impact the bias is having on the organization. It could be just as simple things as looking at the female-male ratio in the different layers of the organization. That could actually tell whether you have the good representation, not good representation. They're talking about some of the oil company.
Especially at the top tiers,
definitely,
right?
Definitely. So because top and the medium, so then we can see where maybe the glass ceiling is in that organization as well. So then once that maybe they identify where the gap is, it could be the representation, it could be even the salary gaps, it could be then the process and structures. Then they can create awareness that there could be the unconscious bias within all of us in looking at the candidate, looking at selecting the right person for the job, or that's for the promotion. And then maybe to introduce some of the extraction system process to eliminate those biases.
Right.
I understand some of the organizations eliminate the nationality, age, and also the name that can tell what background of the person is, to eliminate that bias and then look at the qualification itself as well. And then in terms of the different the structure, it could be having a diversity policy to make a statement within the organization. That's important. And then to look at see if there's any support structures that should be there. And one important thing is that maybe to have a right feedback system. We talked about some of the repercussions or the fears that people might not be able to express.
So some companies have the whistleblower policy, for instance.
Yeah, it's like an anonymous thing,
but people are divided about that. Is it really anonymous? Is it going to land you in trouble?
True.
Yeah, I think that's
true.
important that then it's ensured that it's anonymous, but then it's also important that those feedbacks are going to be taken seriously.
Good
and
point.
Then, as well, so that people are going to be encouraged to report or like maybe to give a suggestion as well.
Okay.
I can see how it's going to be like a total overhaul just by addressing, gender bias discrimination in your company, at your workplace. It's an overhaul because it's really about relooking at things, really being honest with what is presented in your company. But like you said, it's a good thing. It's actually a move in a very positive direction that is beneficial monetarily even to the company.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
all right.
Come, we have assessment later.
All right, we're chatting with Ms Noriko Takasaki from International SOS. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms Noriko. We'll continue this discussion on Facebook at facebook.com/1FM913. Noriko, how can organizations actually work together with International SOS to build a culture of that, equality and safety that we're talking about?
Definitely, there are different ways that we work with organizations to support the gender equity. So one is on the policy. So we mainly work on more of the travel risk policies for the organizations. We talked about this female executives going to India. I think it's really important that travel risk policy looks into the different profile and then how then those profile actually impact the risk of the travel, and then they have that right mitigation measures or right support structure to be able to enable the travel.
And definitely that is really timely. I mean, I never really thought about it, like with travel opportunities for work, that how it affects male and female, employees, right? I never really thought about it. So that's a really great point. And hey, travel is definitely picking up, not just leisure, but also for work. So it's a good thing to really begin embarking on.
So do a lot of these strategies then kind of hinge on HR picking up, some of the new policies that we should be looking into? Is everything resting on the shoulders of HR?
And is it enough,
Well, it's not just HR that we work with. We work with the chief risk officers, also security managers as well. And in terms of the policies, it should be coming from the decision makers as well, senior executives.
So that it can really permeate the whole company.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And then also then they create a culture as a company as well. And then by creating awareness and then creating support to the individual workforce, then it actually comes from the bottom up as well.
I suppose that's another study, right? The gap between HR and the decision makers.
Yeah, definitely.
A chat for another day. Whether or not there is synergy within the company on, change implementation.
Yeah. But definitely if the individual travelers feel the benefit, for example, having the access to the support like International SOS does in terms, in talking to the traveler on the actual risk, putting the risk into the perspective, and also to help with the real-time intelligence on what's happening in the destination actually then helps. And then we talked about selecting the right hotel. Some of the countries have the female-only floors.
Oh, that is brilliant.
As well. And then we give advice such as if you're taking your luggage into your room, maybe use a female
porter
staff.
Yeah.
Especially if you're arriving late in the evening.
Wow. So that's where International SOS can help.
Definitely.
Oh, wow.
I almost feel like I need to consult.
I need you on speed dial.
Just for my own
Happy to
travels.
help.
'Cause you're pointing out things that I do take for granted, and I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of females take those
Definitely.
elements for granted, be it if it's a work trip or even a leisure trip. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I've been really risky in my travel.
I think you're right. People do take it for granted.
Yeah.
Even the district in which someone stays or lives, not all districts are going to be suitable overseas for
Very
women.
true.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just don't think about it. I mean, it's a country maybe I've never been to or something.
Because some companies also leave the sourcing to the hotels or the accommodation to the staff.
who might not know.
Yeah.
That's
You go
true.
figure it out. You go buy the plane ticket, where you're going to stay, that's all on you.
Yeah,
you need
definitely.
to be putting this out there. This is
Definitely.
this is
So
mind blowing.
we have a database of the safe hotels as well, so that organization can access which hotels has been assessed by the International SOS and then which are supposed to be safe. Yes, definitely.
Where is this list?
Is it public info? Can
Yeah,
the
is it on
mere,
your
a
website
mere
somewhere?
citizen like myself?
It's accessible by our client organizations and the risk managers.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow,
but
fascinating.
definitely if they call assistance centers, that we are happy to discuss the individual needs as well, because sometimes maybe the hotel they want to stay is not on the list.
Yeah.
But then it's maybe close to their workplaces. So what we do is individual consultations.
Individual
with the
consult.
travelers,
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So I don't have to be like HR. I don't have to be like a top person from a company. I can just reach out on my own.
Yeah, definitely. So we
Beautiful.
work as a part of the organization with HR or the decision makers to support those workforce.
Okay. We're going to recap all of that on air in just a bit, okay? How I feel about chocolate cake. I'll keep on loving you. The sounds of REO Speedwagon here on 1FM 91.3. Good times, greatest hits. Ms Noriko Takasaki is joining us here in the studio this morning on the Brightside, and she is the Security Director, Assistance Asia at International SOS. And Ms Noriko, I just want to say thank you, because you guys do very important work in terms of advancing the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of employees all around the world, right?
Yeah. So I just want to add this in. It's a really great question from Willie. This is on our Facebook Live, but I'm sure he's tuning in right now. And he asks, may I know, how does gender discrimination in the workplace affect those gender-neutral employees? Might you have an answer to that?
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good question.
Yeah.
And when we talk about diversity, it doesn't just include female, but it's the gender neutral individuals. So even with the different nationality, different race, because they have different risk the profile as well. So when we look at the travel policies, when we look at the travel itineraries, that we definitely look at those gender neutral people as well. And then definitely when we talk about the benefit of diversity, that includes all the population. So it's not just talking about the female diversity. We just need to take into account each and every perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you guys actually do very comprehensive work, security risk management solutions for over 9,000 organizations worldwide. And it's so important for, HR and decision makers in companies to be working in tandem with International SOS.
Definitely. So in terms of the diversity, that we do have a specific section dedicated to the female, but also the LGBTQ plus community as well.
That's amazing.
So that they can see, because they have more legal repercussions in the different countries. So when we talk about the opportunity for travel or opportunity for the international assignment, they are more impacted as well. Definitely.
Wow. I mean, my eyes are really wide open from this discussion with you, Ms Noriko. Yeah. I would have can I just summarize that basically, for whatever sort of the diversity that is happening in your company, there are definitely going to be biases, but it's all about being aware. That's the first place to start. And consider overhauling every practice that you have in your company. Don't just make it focus on the gender biases that happen, but all in all, it's going to be great for your company. A lot of work, but definitely great for your company. Thank you so much for everything you've shared.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Ms Noriko, how can people reach out to International SOS in terms of, tapping on your resources to make sure that, their company is aligned moving forward with some of the policies?
Definitely. So we do have the website, internationalsos.com. We are on LinkedIn as well. And also that we do have assistance centers as well. That's for the clients. But then on the website, we would have the telephone numbers that they can reach out to as well.
Fantastic.
Okay, and you don't have to be like from HR, a top leader or anything. You could be an individual trying to reach out to find out, things like which hotels are safest for women in certain districts in different countries. You've all done the research on that as well. You've got recommendations.
Definitely.
Wow, that's amazing.
And maybe, if you could check that your company's member or they subscribe to the international services, you have the instant access as of today.
As of today.
I got to check. I got to go and check whether we have it. Man. This is such a great resource.
Yes,
wow.
it is. Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you so much, Ms Noriko Takasaki. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. We hope our paths will cross again soon because many studies have been done by you guys.
Hey.
Thank you so much.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
1FM 91.9. Good time.